It's not possible.
I didn't say it would be easy, Neo.
All right, we are back in session. Mr. Baker, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number, please, sir.
Wayne Baker, 368756.
All right. Good morning, sir. My name is Cheryl Renatza. This is Mr. Steve Prater to my left, Mr. Chuck Tillis to my right. I want to acknowledge the folks we have with us today that you can see. We have, let's see, your mother, Miss Betty Baker, your aunt, Rosie Funches, sister-in-law, Catherine Baker, and Mr. Myers with the Parole Project. In opposition, we have Mr. Wesley Goodman and a representative from the DA's office in Jefferson Parish. I'll read some identifying information. Mr. Baker asked you to confirm it, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Tillis. Your case has been assigned to him, so he'll take the lead on the interview. Once we finish our questions, we'll ask the warden for her input, and then we'll hear from the folks who've indicated they'd like to speak. You'll be allowed to make a statement, after which we'll ask the DA's office to close it out for us. Okay, you ready? All right, Mr. Baker, you're classified as a first felony offender. You're serving a life sentence for a second-degree murder conviction in May of 1996 in Jefferson Parish. You have parole eligibility date, which is determined to be February 22nd, 2020. Is that information correct, Mr. Baker?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, would you answer Mr. Tillis' question, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. How are you?
All right, sir.
Good. I read over your case. How long have you, or when did you start selling drugs?
At a
How-
very
How-
early, sir, maybe 14 or 15, sir.
Okay. How long have you been incarcerated?
For 29 years, sir.
29 years. Have you made any changes in the last 5 years?
Yes, sir, I have.
You feel you have?
Yes, sir.
What kind of changes have you think you've made?
I made personal changes in my life since November 22nd, 2022 is when a light bulb switch came on in my head to where I had to get my life together. I grew spiritually, I've matured in all areas of my life.
Okay, 29 years. In the last 2 years, you've kind of made a decision to straighten things out.
Well, sir, it's not so much that day. It's like I had got hooked on drugs, sir. And the drugs had took control of my life. And I was on a down spiral. And once I come to David Wade Correctional Center, I was able to regroup, get around positive people with positive mind frames, and do what I always know what I was supposed to do.
I see where you've taken a lot of classes and you've been really trying to make an effort to do what's right. And that's good. That's good. If you are granted what you're asking for, what are your plans then? What do you plan to do?
Plan to go work at a company that my auntie owned, a car crushing company. But in my spare time, I would like to speak to the youths, guys that been misguided like I have been for all my life, and in hopes to change a life, help a kid to go the right path. I can assure you that if given parole today, I would never harm another human being. I don't have to be. I'm gonna do the right thing even when no one's paying attention, sir.
One last question. It's the last time you did drugs.
November 22nd, 2022.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So out of all the programs that you've taken, Mr. Baker, which one have you gotten the most out of?
12 steps, AA. It taught me accountability. It's something I take my sobriety serious, not just with doing drugs. I take it serious because drugs has been the center point in my life where I've been going downhill ever since drugs came into my life. I've just been going backwards. Everything.
Do you go to AA meetings now?
Ma'am?
Go to AA meetings?
Yes, ma'am.
How often do they have them there?
They have them weekly, once a week now, just like an open call out.
Mhm.
I attend that, but I didn't already achieve. I already got the certificate for it, but I still go to it because it's an everyday struggle with drugs, and I need to be around positive mind frames, people that's wanting the same thing that I want.
So how long you been there, David Wade?
Ma'am,
How long you been there?
since November 22nd, 2022.
So you were at Angola prior to that?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to AA meetings there?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Then you had the positive drug screen. Did you test positive when you got there? Or that's why you were moved? Or both, I guess.
I tested positive once I made it to David Wade Correctional Center.
And what was the substance?
Methamphetamine.
And so when you were on the street, what was your drug of choice?
Marijuana.
And so you claim to be a drug dealer?
I was both. I sold drugs growing up, and I used to smoke marijuana, recreation. And over the years, maybe last 8 years, 9 years or so, I started doing harder drugs.
Meth or whatever you could get your hands on?
Basically, whatever I got my hands on, man.
So what substance abuse program, since you've been moved to Wade, what substance abuse program, education or otherwise, have you been able to take?
I got my high set.
Now, I'm talking about substance abuse. I did see you got your high set. You got that just last year. Congratulations, I think in November.
Thank you, ma'am. AA, Living in Balance, Toastmasters. Think that's
What'd you get out of living in balance? What'd you learn? The most important thing you learned?
the most important thing I learned is that you need an accountability partner, someone to speak to. Don't be ashamed to speak out what it is that
Good. So you have an accountability partner now?
yes, ma'am, I have a few.
What's your job there? What do you do?
I work on crew 1, ma'am, but
What's one?
well, they work outside the gate, but lately they have not been working. So in my spare time, what I've been doing is I tutor guys in the dormitory with mathematics and language. And also, I'm a peer leader in sports activities, ma'am.
So you're a trustee?
I have what they call an honor card. I don't know if that's classified as a trustee, up here, but I wouldn't know the answer to that.
Well, I'm gonna ask Warden Dozak for that answer.
Yes, ma'am. No, he's not a trustee. He is an honor inmate. And like you said, he does participate as a peer leader in our recreational activity. He's assigned to the field crew, but due to staffing issues and such, we don't have the field crew going out currently. He did what, like he said, tested positive for methamphetamine the night that he got here, and did a pretty significant amount of time in segregation. And since he's remained back in general population, I've seen some positive things from him. Like he said, he did his high set. He did go to and join and complete the AA 12-step programs. He is active in our weekly meetings for AANA, and he is currently on the waiting list for a Serve Safe program through education, which should begin in the next couple of weeks or so.
Thank you. Any questions?
You about the correction system, but that.
Okay. All right. Let's see. We'll hear from the folks who are here in support. First, we'd like to hear from your mom, Miss Betty Baker.
My name is Betty Baker. I'm Dwayne Baker's mother. I would like to thank you for allowing me to speak on his behalf. Dwayne is the second of 3 sons and the father of a beautiful daughter and 1 grandson. His release would mean the world to his family. It's been a long journey, and with his rehab, I think he would make a great asset to the community. I acknowledge his time away, and so that he would like to come home and help the young folks in the community, to help them get their lives straight. And he has shown remorse for the crime that he was convicted of. And if he's granted a pardon today, it would mean the world to us. And he will have family support, community support, and a job.
Yes,
I'm here.
ma'am. Thank you. We appreciate your input. We appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Hear from Ms. Rosie Funches.
Good morning. I'm Rosie Funches, and I'm a co-owner of a car crushing business with my husband, located in Jefferson Parish and in Mississippi. We have decided to allow Wayne to work with the company, but he won't be going to Mississippi. He'll be working locally with my husband and my son. Everybody makes mistakes, whether they're minor or major, but we are in total support of Dwayne, and we're praying that you all allow him the opportunity to get into society. It's been 29 years, like you say, and 29 years is a long time for a child to be incarcerated. And we're looking forward to make some lifelong changes, both personally, physically, religiously, and just be a backbone for him, because 29 years incarcerated, he's going to have a lot of changes he's going to have to make to all of the changes that are in society. But I want you all to know that he has a lot of family support. He has a lot of support from the church. And we just want you all to know that if you allow him this opportunity, he will have support, and we will be on him like white on rice.
Well, thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your input. Could we hear from the Parole Project?
Yes. Good morning still. Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. Again, just, to reiterate, Mr. Baker was 17 years old, a juvenile when this crime was committed. The capacity for juveniles to change has been recognized not only by mental health professionals, but by the U.S. Supreme Court. Mr. Baker has struggled, obviously, through his life with his addictions, but you can see the hard work that he's done. We will continue to help him. Should this board grant him Parole Today will continue to help him to make sure while he's in our program, make sure he's continued to be connected to AANA. We'll provide him a substance abuse evaluation through our social work staff and ensure that he follows any recommendation through that staff, any recommendation that social worker makes. His adjustment in our program will, and again, that's what we're set up to do for people who have served long sentences like Mr. Baker. We will help him through that transition with technology, make sure he has all his documentation. You know, he already has employment and he has a long-term residence, but we're going to give him that cushion, that time to essentially detox from prison, if for lack of a term. We'll provide him the case management. We'll provide him the mentoring in the things like social norms to allow him to be able to reintegrate the technology, the financial literacy. It is, you know, it continues and will always be our mission to assist people like Mr. Baker in their transition to be successful. And as you know, our program has been highly successful. So we believe, should this board grant Mr. Baker today, the combination of our program and the family support, Mr. Baker will be successful.
All right, thank you, sir. We'll hear from the opposition now. Could we hear from Mr. Wesley Goodman? Mr. Goodman on the phone. Right. He's apparently logged out. We're going to try to get in touch with him. In the meantime, Mr. Baker, is there a statement you'd like to say to the board?
Yes, ma'am. The incident that took place is one that I'm gonna live with for the remainder of my life. Also, it's an incident that I'm sincerely, heartfully, and remorsefully regretful towards. Silently, I ask God for repentance and to lift the family and loved ones up of the victim in prayers, in hopes that one day they find it in their hearts to forgive me.
All right, thank you, sir. We can't reach him, so if we'd like to go ahead and ask Mr. Meyer, would you close it out for us?
Good morning, Randy Meyer, Assistant DA, Jefferson Parish. I spoke with Mr. Goodman over the weekend, and he expressed strong opposition to parole for Mr. Baker. I've also spoken to other victims. I would note in the record there are, I want to say, about 5 or 6 victims who did respond, all of whom were opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, looks like 5. All of whom were opposed to his request for parole. The concerns I have with and we're opposed as well, and the concerns I have with Mr. Baker's request is, first, y'all didn't ask him about the offense and the facts surrounding the offense. He was 2 months shy, roughly 2 months shy of his 18th birthday when the shooting occurred. What happened in the offense, Mr. Goodman and his wife drove up to the scene to buy some drugs. They were making the transaction, and what Mr. Goodman advised me was that Mr. Baker came up with a gun and tried to rob both the person who was selling him the drugs and them of the drugs. they sped off, and Mr. Baker shot numerous times at the vehicle, to the fleeing vehicle. His people, trying to get away from a guy coming up at him with a gun. What's concerning to me is if we look at the juvenile lifer evaluation, which was conducted on 12/28 of 23, it states, I believe on the second page, that according to inmate Baker, on the night of the offense, he was selling crack cocaine. A van drove up for what appeared to be a drug purchase. The driver of the van attempted to steal cocaine and immediately drive off. Subsequently, inmate Baker fired several shots at the fleeing van, fatally injuring a female passenger. It's a little bit different factually from what Mr. Goodman has advised occurred that evening, that they actually had, made a deal on some drugs, and Mr. Baker came up to rob them. Other concerns I have are 132 disciplinary reports since he's been incarcerated. He's had disciplinary reports every year of his incarceration, except 2015, 2016, 23, and so far in 2024, he's had no disciplinary reports. The last offense was November 22 of 22, which was the positive test for methamphetamines that he talked about. Looking since including 2014, since 2014, he's had 7 contraband reports, 2 sex offenses, and 2 intoxication reports. I would be, I'm concerned with the number of disciplinary reports while he's been incarcerated and the lack of time since his last disciplinary report and today. I would like to see more time between that final disciplinary report that he's had in November of 22 and the time that he is released. The report also talked about, the LIFETHAT report also talked about the need of vocational programs. Looking at the programs that he's completed while incarcerated, there's really no vocational programs that would assist him in being able to obtain a job. Although his family, his uncle has indicated that they will have a job for him. I'd like to see some vocational programs that would assist him. And the time period that he has been involved with the use of drugs, including the many years that he's incarcerated, I think a successful completion of a long-term substance abuse program would be appropriate before he is being considered for release. So for those reasons, we're opposed to his request for parole.
All right, thank you, Mr. Meyer. We always appreciate your input. I will make a motion for executive session to discuss confidential matters. Can I get a second?
Second.
Can we do a roll call?
Cheryl Lawson?
Yes.
Chuck Tibbs?
Yes.
Steve Prater?
Yes.
Okay, we'll be in executive session to discuss confidential matters. We'll be back shortly. All right, thank you. We are back in regular session. Let's see. And we will be voting. Mr. Tillis will be voting first.
I'm going to vote that upon completion of long-term to Steve Harvey program, that should be granted, and then to the project parole.
All right, Mr. Prater.
I concur.
All right, and Mr. Baker, your conduct record hasn't been good until lately. We've talked about it, but I think I'm in agreement with my colleagues. You really need the substance abuse treatment. Are you familiar with the Steve Hall program? You heard about it? It's an intensive substance abuse program. I think y'all are still on mute. It's an intensive substance abuse program, and we're sending you to the long-term program. So you get the tools that you need to conquer your addiction, and then you got to follow up. They'll recommend a plan, a treatment plan after release, and you got to follow that plan. All right. Parole Project's going to give you some additional counseling. So today, sir, your parole's been granted, but you've got some work to do with the Steve Hall program.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Good luck to you.
Thank you much, ma'am. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to sign off from David Wade. It is 12:07. Y'all have a good afternoon.